will be able to catch this replay later. We are so thankful that you're here. We plan to take about an hour of your time. And the purpose of this evening is for us to give a little bit of definition to what the end of the year might look like for us at Perry Hall Christian School this year. We're still all kind of in a state of, we don't know what exactly is happening, what can we plan for. So we have put a lot of time and effort into understanding that you are feeling that way as well. And we hope to provide you with just a little bit of hope, but we also are asking for your understanding that while we are making plans, we want to be good citizens, have godly responses in response to our government, as the Lord has asked us to. And we are going to kind of step out in faith with making plans, but we still plan on abiding by what the government asks us. So some of this is going to be very like, if this, then this evening. So we do ask for your understanding, but we also just, like I said, really want to bring you hope. And this evening, as I was thinking about how I was going to open this, I want to share some words from scripture, and it's Isaiah chapter 55, verses 7 and 8, or 8 and 9. Sorry, I was having technical difficulties earlier. I want you all to know that when you're having technical difficulties during the week with your work, you're not the only ones. So, bless you, because I was just having some as well. And I'm going to ask all of us to quiet our hearts right now, mine especially, because I think I'm still taking deep breaths from my technical difficulties. So Isaiah 55, verses 8 and 9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. And so while we have no control in this situation, God's got it all. He knows every part of this. He knew it from the beginning. He knows it at the end. And I would just encourage all of us to sit and abide in him, wait patiently, step out in faith and just see, Lord, what is it that you're going to do? And just really, this is where being a Christian, when we talk about having faith and putting our faith, it means trusting. And so we're just going to trust the Lord as he brings us through this trial. Spiritual growth always happens in the discomfort areas. And so this is very exciting because we are all getting some spiritual growth together here for the past 6 weeks. So we'll see how much longer we have, but let's pray together before we get started with our questions. Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening. Thank you for all of these families that are represented here. God, we miss each other so much, and we are thankful that you created us to be in community with each other, to be in community with you and those around us. Lord, we ask that all the anxieties, the concerns that we have, the control we want to take back, God, that we would just have open hands, hand it to you, trust you, and just go on this ride with you, Lord, and know that your thoughts are higher than our thoughts. Your plans are higher than our plans. We love you, Lord, and we ask for your blessing this evening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So we took some questions prior to tonight, and we're going to split those up for you with our different panelists answering them. There's also, I believe, a question and answer section that, as time allows, if some of these questions trigger questions for you, please feel free to type them in. We will try to answer your questions this evening. If that doesn't work out, we'll do like we did last time, where I was able to save the questions and we responded to them. I doubt it would be in the Panther pages this week, but I think we could get them in for next week. So our first question that we had, Mrs. Kowalik is going to answer this one for us. How can I help my student organize their work when all of the work due for the week is listed on Monday?
Okay, sure. That's a great question. So the way that we, just so you know, we have put hours into thinking, how will this work the best? Like, how will it be easiest for the students to navigate? How will it be easy for the teachers to navigate, seeing as, you know, this is all new for them too. And so what we came up with was to basically post everything at the beginning of the week, however, breaking it down under each of the days throughout the week. So when you do open RenWeb, what you should see is, yes, all of the week's work, but under each individual day throughout the week. So if that is not the case for one of your child's classes or one of your child's teachers, I encourage you to reach out to that individual teacher just to say, hey, this is what's going on. My understanding is that the work is supposed to be, yes, uploaded at the beginning of the week, just so you can have, you know, it's good for all of us to be able to take the week's glance and look at the beginning and say, okay, let me think and see what I have to do this week. But it can also be overwhelming when it's all listed under one day. So if that is happening, just reach out to your child's teacher, just let them know, ask them, you know, if they could kindly please, you know, spread it out throughout the week the way the other teachers are doing. And that should really take care of it. Beyond that, if that is happening and it's still overwhelming, you're not alone. This is really new for all of us. And the best advice that I have is to first check out some of the things that we put on YouTube. We definitely have some videos, some that I filmed, one for upper school, one for lower school. It goes through exactly how to break down the suggested schedule, how to set expectations with your child as to what it will look like when it's what they're doing during work time versus what you are doing at work time, assuming most of us are trying to work from home as well. If you are an essential worker and you're getting home at different hours, you know, we have one parent that I know isn't starting work with their child in lower school until like 2:30 in the afternoon. But that's when their schedule starts. So it doesn't matter when it starts, but you want to make sure you have a schedule and a routine down. If you are struggling to find that balance and to figure out what's working best, or you've tried several things and they're not working, I'd be happy to help. So you can always shoot me an email and I could walk through things with you and your family and try to help with things specific to your situation. But other than that, I would go ahead and just make sure that per RenWeb things are spread under each day, like I said, and really try to stick to a daily schedule and a routine, and make sure that you have breaks included in there too. I know that our brains are on overload right now, and so making sure that your child, no matter what age, has time to do some of their work and then take a brain break, just reset a little bit and then go back to their work. That really helps. Also making checklists. So if your child, you know, even if the assignments are listed under RenWeb for each day, and that is overwhelming, which it still can be. I mean, we're still trying to navigate how to do this and feel really good and comfortable with it. So if that is still causing some stress or anxiety, take those assignments for the day and just jot them out in a checklist that your student can then say, okay, I've completed this, check. And that really helps to keep things organized and helps you not to feel so overwhelmed. You can chunk your assignments, get a few done here, a few done there. But they would be my initial suggestions. Like I said, if you need any help with anything, if a parent needs help with their specific family schedule, I'd be happy to help. Just send me an email to our school email.
Great, thank you. My cursor was on the other side. While you were talking, Mrs. Jupiter from lower school asked about if what you were talking about applied to lower school students as well.
So for lower school students, you won't find work in RenWeb. Everything is listed under McGraw-Hill, but it's a similar, and Mrs. Goodmanson, if you want to jump in here at all, but it's a similar routine. Everything is posted by 8 p.m. on Sunday night. Just so that I know myself and for my kids, I have there at 8:30 every Sunday night, so I can pull up what they have for the week. For lower school, everything's posted by Sunday night, 8 p.m., and it's the same way. Things are kind of laid out for the week. Most teachers are sending some type of schedule along with their child's assignments, so it is down by the day. Even so, with that, I know with my own kids, we are making those checklists because it really helps. My third grader is now getting in the habit of checking off his assignments and starting to get in a groove and into a flow that way. But it is similar. Everything is there for you at the beginning of the week. But again, it's broken down under each day. And then each teacher has pretty much the same basic format as far as laying out their assignments. There are small tweaks here and there, but most of the same rules apply. But yes, setting the expectations, going over the habits and routines, talking about what your schedule looks like, all of that applies just like to upper school.
Mrs. Goodmanson, do you have anything that you wanted to add?
I think everything that Mrs. Kwolek said was perfect. Again, your teachers are going to send that information out to you Sunday night. I know that fourth grade, there's been a little bit of a transition since Mrs. Evans had her little baby. And so just bear with that transition a little bit. You should have everything ready to go for you when you are ready first thing Monday morning. Again, look in McGraw-Hill. Follow the checklists that the teachers have given you. They've broken assignments down day by day of what your child should be expected to do. And I will say it's really important to follow what they've sent out to you, because if your child tries to go ahead, they may miss something in a Loom video that is supposed to be scheduled for a couple of days later, or if they try to work ahead in an assignment, they may miss something that is going to be talked about in their Zoom class. So just watch for that calendar. That's probably the most specific thing you can do. Once you get that from your teacher, drop those assignments in a checklist that you have, like Mrs. Kwolek is talking about. That's the best thing you could do.
Thank you, ladies. Mrs. Ruff, I think this may be one of the most important questions on here. When will the school year end?
That's a great question. First of all, I would just like to give a shout out. If you're looking at my background, Christy Howard took this picture. She had to go into the school one day last week or the week before to process payroll and pay some bills. So if you're missing this beautiful tree and just coming and seeing our campus, I hope that this brightens your day a little bit. Obviously, it was not taken today if you've looked outside today, because it's boring, but it certainly made me smile, so I wanted to share that with you. So as far as our school year goes, because we have continued to meet our curriculum standards for the completion of our educational program, and we did it without hardly any break at all. We jumped right in. The teachers did, you guys did, the students did. We are scheduled to end on time, so our last day being June 10th. Those last 3 days of school, which would be the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday through the 10th, might have an altered schedule depending on what Mrs. Goodmanson and Mrs. Gray come up with for upper and lower school, so that classes can have some closure activities and things like that. But we are scheduled to end on time. I'm not sure. Hopefully you'll be able to have some fun summer plans. We'll have to wait and see how that turns out, but the school year will end on time.
Great, that's exciting because I like summer. And I bet a lot of people are ready for their summer vacation. This question is related. So with the ending of the school year, we all know that there's lots to do. Like how do you plan to close out the school year? Because some people still have their belongings in the building, or returning books. We have to return our textbooks, giving back Chromebooks.
Sure, that's a great question. So we obviously have to wait until the stay-at-home order is lifted, and then depending on what other restrictions are still in place, that will determine the timing. It will also determine the procedure for returning materials to the school and then collecting whatever was left at school when we left in March. Returning things is pretty simple. We could even schedule a drive-through for that to return textbooks and Chromebooks and things like that. Coming into the school and gathering your belongings is a little bit trickier with social distancing procedures and things like that. So we will wait until we know from the government officials what we are and are not allowed to do. And again, this is pending decision on May 15th on what's happening for the last few weeks of school. But we will schedule a time when, in some format, students can return the things that belong to the school, and they can pick up their belongings from the school as well. We want to make sure that that happens, and we'll do it as soon as we possibly can once the restrictions are lifted enough for us to do
Thank you. The end of the school year, also, everyone, tomorrow's May 1st. If you've been checking your calendar, you may have to check your calendar just to even know what day of the week it is, because I do, because every day feels exactly the same. But May always brings about lots of fun school activities and events. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking now about how the school plans to handle some of those important end of the year events. And I was asked to just talk a tiny bit about the fact that we, like I said in the beginning, we've got some plan A's and we have some plan B's. And then our principals are going to go over plan A and plan B with you guys so that you have a little bit of information to take home and hold on to. But once again, everything is just depending on what we hear about school being able to go back May 15th or not. So it's very up in the air, but planned, sitting up there in the air at the moment. So Mrs. Gray is going to talk about prom, senior parade, and graduation for our seniors.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Ms. Harding. Yes, and I, again, want to echo some of the thoughts of some of my other team members in that we just really appreciate your patience in all of this and the grace that you're extending us and the overwhelming encouragement that we've received that really just uplifts us during this time when we do feel kind of overwhelmed with not just developing one plan, but now developing 2, 3, 4. I know Ms. Harding said A and B, but there's lots of C's and D's out there as well. So just thank you again for your support during this time and being flexible. And I appreciate you guys coming out tonight too to hear some of these important announcements. So senior parade, what we're going to do, what our plan is at this point is to still hold it on the 3rd of June as it was originally scheduled. It's going to kind of be what we're calling a reverse parade, in that we're going to have the families come with their students and line some of the school property and stand outside some of the just all around the school property and hopefully hold signs with their names and just kind of celebratory messages about how excited they are to be graduating. And then as we're gonna have a whole bunch of adults, teachers, parents, family members, parade around and drive around and wave and honk and celebrate together. And so I know it's a little bit different than it was last year, but we're really excited. We think it will be really fun and just a great way to just kind of come together but apart and celebrate and just kind of get excited about this really exciting time for these seniors. Prom, I know, is a big one. I know that that's something that everybody looks forward to, and please, you know, like has already been mentioned, if May 15th, you know, we're able to make some decisions, some of this might change. As of right now, we're planning on still holding prom as traditionally as we can, still with formal attire. I even talked to a couple students today in my chat and chew that have already purchased dresses. And so, you know, we're excited about trying to continue to have that event for you. It will likely be at the end of June is where we're kind of targeting. It will look different. It will not be at the same venue that we were going to host it. We won't be having food, doing any kind of buffet style food, dealing with all of the sanitary restrictions of that. Just it's not something that we feel is a priority right now to still give the students that prom experience. But so we will be holding a senior prom, junior senior prom at the end of the year, and I mean at the end of June, and trying to keep that as traditional and as fun as it normally is, with lots of decorations and a DJ and lots of dancing and socializing and all the other fun things that go along with that. What else was on my list? Graduation. Oh, it's kind of important. Don't want to forget that one. So plan A for graduation is if we are back in school on May 18th, then we're going to hold graduation as planned and continue forward with, you know, our normal graduation ceremony. And that's plan A, and we'll continue to pray that that's the case. If that's not the case, we will still be doing graduation on June 5th. We're still targeting June 5th for the senior graduation. Again, depending on restrictions and the mandates from the state, if we're able to hold a limited attended graduation ceremony like it normally is, but just a little bit more spread out and maybe just with parents, then that will be our hope. That's what we're hoping to be able to roll out. If not, and we're still not able to do that or meet in any kind of a size of group that would accommodate having a live, mostly normal graduation ceremony, and we are going to kind of do a combo where we're scheduling students and families times to come into the sanctuary independently, individually, walk across the stage, receive that diploma, hear from Judy Reese the highlights of each of the students. That will all be recorded, and then we're going to put it all together with some other components that are pretty essential to that graduation ceremony, and put together a nice comprehensive graduation video. So those are kind of the 3 plans that we have as is. As Ms. Ruff mentioned, we're still ending the year on time, so there's no reason that we can't roll out graduation on the same time. And I think that the majority of the reason that we made that decision is that we know that the students have really looked forward to this day for a long time, many of them since preschool at Perry Hall. And so we want to try to, continue to let that day just be held as a special day for them, and one where they can really, enjoy that culminating experience of graduating from high school.
Great. Those sounds like great plans. I love them all. You're doing a great job. And from a mom of a senior, I think we all just want it to be kind of as normal as possible. How about upper school awards and then our 8th grade promotion? How do you guys plan on handling those?
So upper school awards are generally 6 through 8, and then there's a separate ceremony for 9 through 12 for the high school. So middle school and high school are separate. This year, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be combining middle school and high school. Some of the awards that aren't as appropriate to give out at this time, will be taken out. And so some of the awards that are given will be the number of awards will be limited compared to years in the past. So this year, that ceremony is going to be 6 through 11. And will be held the week after. Right now we're planning the week after the regular graduation. So I think the day it was scheduled was, and correct me if I'm wrong, the 13th. Is that right? 10th? 10th, okay. That's our target. Might change depending on the way that some of the restrictions go, or the timing of how we're able to get grades in and calculate some of these awards. But it will be a ceremony for 6 through 11. Senior awards will be combined with the graduation ceremony. So it looks a little bit different, but we still want to make sure that we highlight all of the students' accomplishments this year that have somewhat been shadowed now that we can't see them face to face. But they really have achieved so much, especially in these difficult times. And so we do want to make sure that we are still able to highlight their accomplishments. So that's upper school awards. 8th grade graduation, as you know, the ceremony, we have canceled the ceremony, and that is not dependent on whether or not we go back May 15th. That's not something that we're going to be doing this year. However, we know that this is a really big milestone for our 8th graders. And thanks to some suggestions from some parents, we are going to be designing and ordering, yard signs for all of the 8th grade students that they can put out on the yard to celebrate their accomplishment. It will be a little message about how proud we are of them. And how much we look forward to them continuing with us into high school.
Wonderful. Mrs. Goodmanson, you have kindergarten graduation coming up and 5th grade promotion, as well as some lower school awards. Could you speak to everyone about those events?
Absolutely. So we still plan on having an end of year celebration and awards ceremony for our lower school classes. And that will look very different than it has in years past. But we will give you details as soon as we possibly can. And again, this is dependent upon whether or not we go back May 18th. And again, that's our plan A. Hopefully we'll be able to be back in school, but we also are making plans if we aren't. So we just want you to know we haven't forgotten, and we will be putting together a virtual awards ceremony for your kiddos. And again, it will look very different than it has before. What won't change is our teachers do plan on writing a special blessing to each of your children. And I know that that's been a very precious thing that my daughter, who's now a junior, still has on her wall. And so I really want to make sure that that stays in with what we're going to do, and we'll get that to you. For kindergarten graduation, it will look a little bit different. We'll have a day where parents can come with their children. They have an option. They have an option to buy a cap and gown for your child. You'll hear more information about that. It's going out this weekend. Mrs. Moss will be sending out an email to you all. And then if you choose to buy a cap and gown for your child, you can do that. You're going to come and take pictures by the school sign that you see behind Mrs. Ruff. So Mrs. Van G, Mrs. Moss, and I will be there to give your student their promotion certificate and maybe touch elbows, not shake a hand, but be able to get a picture from a photographer there that will be there for each of those students coming. And then you'll get, again, more information. We're also going to give a little gift. and certificate to each of these kiddos. And I know Mrs. Moss and Mrs. Van G can't hardly wait. They're so excited to see the kids again, and they're so excited to put together their presents. So we just talked about that today. So they will be having something special. For 5th grade, it will look a little different as well. We are going to have a virtual ceremony for 5th grade, and we're not really sure how that all is going to work out just yet, but we have some things that we've been talking about, planning on getting them a small gift as well. It won't be like a traditional 5th grade graduation that we've had before. Again, it's just going to be our 5th grade promotion ceremony that will work together to make it the best possible experience for all kids, should we not go back on the 18th. So
those plans sound great. Now, ladies, as we were sitting here, a question came in that I feel fits in this category. So Mrs. Eisman is asking about yearbooks. Do we have any kind of information about getting yearbooks or students with yearbooks yet?
I don't know when the delivery date is, but the yearbook was completed. It was completed on time. Mrs. Bailey and the yearbook staff just worked really hard. I've seen a couple of the pages that are special and unique to this situation, which in the midst of the situation may not be what you want highlighted in your yearbook, but I promise you, years down the road, you are going to really be excited to say, I lived through this historical event. Excited might not be the right word, but so the yearbooks are coming in, and whenever we are able to schedule the locker clean out and classroom clean out and exchange of materials, we would make sure that we would have those available as well.
I'm looking forward to see that because I helped her with some social media things, taking polls about how many toilet paper rolls you have in your house. So it sounds pretty fun, you guys. Mrs. Ruff, what health and safety precautions will be taken when school is allowed to be back in session?
Yes, so Mrs. Worthington is already on top of this. She is working on a plan right now that would be specific for our school and our situation and our class sizes and various things. But she's obviously working in conjunction with the recommendations from state officials and the health department. Again, some of this is dependent on what we are told from that level down. But we are considering things like, will we need to wear masks? Will we need to alter our lunch procedures? How do we accommodate for social distancing restrictions? How do we allow for secure reporting of illnesses? And then do we need to change our stay-at-home policy for students who potentially would have an illness in their family related to COVID-19, things like that. So we're working on that. She is in the process of putting some thoughts together, and then there will be a group of us that will review that. And of course, we won't return to school until we are released to do so, and we will follow obviously all of the guidelines that come from above us, from our government officials and from the health department, and then make anything that we need to that's specific to our school relating to how we run our school and our procedures as well.
Thank you. And I know that Mrs. Worthington is on here and she's been working really hard for us throughout this experience, making sure that we all stay safe and have everything we need. Boy, Mrs. Ruff, we just have a lot of questions that seem like you're the best person to answer. So our next question is, will the tuition increase for next year be reconsidered? What financial provisions are available for families who have lost jobs or have had their pay reduced during this time?
Sure. So as I mentioned previously in the last webinar that we did, the tuition and fees that families pay cover the outstanding educational products that we offer at Perry Hall Christian School. In order to maintain our standards and plan for a continuously changing situation with many unknowns, it's more important than ever that we are able to retain the highest quality teachers and to pay them at the competitive rates that we're able to offer. We also need to consider what we need to provide for students that are going to be necessary resources to keep them competitive, throughout not only this situation, but then long term as well. So, we are praying and we are planning for full enrollment again in the fall, but we are also prepared for the possibility that this might not happen. Regardless of all of these factors, we cannot compromise any aspects of our mission. I mean, that's why you send your students, your children to Perry Hall Christian School. And so the purposeful planning of tuition that's already happened allows us to provide that highest quality education. So we want to be able to maintain that. That is definitely a top priority. Of course, as I've mentioned before, we are sensitive to the fact that many of our families are going through financial hardship during this time with lost jobs or significant reductions in wages or hours. And again, I just want to say that if this applies to you, please contact our business office. We want to help you. We have some resources and some strategies and some things in place because we want to support you. You are important to us. You're part of our family, and we want to help you in any way that we can. If you have lost your job or you've had a significant reduction in your wages, there are others who potentially have not been impacted in that same way that would be able to potentially offer assistance. And so we need to know if that is your situation. If you've incurred additional unexpected expenses, it's temporary, but it was an unexpected additional expense, we can discuss deferment options with you of your current tuition if that's something that you would need. And so again, I just encourage you to contact the business office to discuss that. And then, as of course we're anticipating potential long-term strains on some of our families, the application for financial aid, which has closed technically, certainly there is opportunity if your financial situation has changed for you to still apply if that has not happened yet, and we'll make sure that that's available to you. And then, we will do everything that we can to help support your family during this time because you are part of our family. If you absolutely cannot make it work, to keep your students at Perry Hall Christian School, which would not at all be our desire, we will consider, the withdrawal fee and adjusting that timeline. We actually already waived the April withdrawal fee. So there were a handful of families that, were thinking about making that decision. And the last thing that we want is for you to make a decision that is going to be long-term impactful for your family. But you have to make it right now because you're weighing, you're feeling the weight of the withdrawal fee. So please, again, reach out to the business office and have that conversation if that applies to you personally and your family. I just can't stress enough how important it is for you to reach out and let us know. We want to help you in any way that we can. And so we just need to know, and we'll see what we can do.
Perfect. Don't go anywhere. This question is best answered by you as well. How will learning move forward if school cannot open in the fall? What plans are being put in place to ensure equitable technology access for all students if our learning continues to be remote?
So I do not like this question at all. I do not even want to think about not being able to see all of the students' faces and be with the teachers in the fall. I am hopeful with the additional health and safety precautions that we will be able to meet in person in the fall. However, I'm not naive and I'm not putting my head in the sand. So we are actively planning for alternatives if that is still the directive from our government leaders. There's the possibility of even starting back in the fall and then potentially another outbreak that might happen that could cause a short-term temporary return to distance learning for just a short period of time as well. And so we certainly know that all of those are possibilities. We are prayerful and hopeful that that's not the case, but we're not naive either, and we're certainly not ignoring that. Regardless of whether we are able to meet in the fall face-to-face on day one or whether anything would have to continue, we do recognize the need for additional technology, not only devices, but also systems. And so lending out the Chromebooks certainly has helped many families, I believe. And I think if you are still in need of a Chromebook, I think we have maybe 3 left in the office. So if you are still in need of a Chromebook for the rest of this year, that would help just make things easier for your family. Please reach out and email me, and I will see how many we have left, and certainly can set you up with that if that is something that would be helpful. So we know that we already had in the plans to purchase additional Chromebooks for even more support, and that is whether we're in school or whether we need to lend them out again like we did this year and provide for a closer to a 1-to-1 ratio for families who are working, everyone working virtually and remotely during this time. So we certainly have that as in our plans, if that is in fact the case. I'm going to ask Mrs. Gray to address some of our plans for the integration of a learning management system. And again, that would come into play whether we are learning from home, but also even within the school building. I think I keep trying to look for positives in this situation and keep asking the Lord to show me some things that I can take out of this that is a positive. And I would say that one of those things for our school is that first of all, we've been forced into learning some additional technology and kind of branching out in that area. And so I think that has, that in and of itself, while stressful probably at the time, in the long run is going to be really beneficial for our school, even when things are back to normal. So Mrs. Gray, I'll let you address some of the specifics of an LMS.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ruff. As Mrs. Ruff said, this is something that has kind of already been in the works and is something that we've already been exploring, that has just been kind of pushed full speed ahead with some of the current situation and changes that we weren't really anticipating this year. For this year, I just want to point out, well, let me start here. For those of you that aren't familiar with what a learning management system is, what that term means, what that looks like, it's essentially a virtual classroom, so to speak. It's a way of conducting teaching online, but it's also a communication tool that allows for the streamlining of all resources, lesson plans, homework assignments, feedback from teachers directly to the students, coordination of small groupings, doing assignments collaboratively online from home. So essentially, it's just one tool that you can go to design your classroom for your students, that your students can then really work with you on an ongoing basis without the restrictions of having to communicate via email and then wait for a response, or just see you face to face in the classroom. So that's really what a learning management system is. Working for Baltimore County, they were using Schoology, and like Mrs. Ruff already addressed, regardless of the status of distance learning, it is a software that is essential these days to being able to really help our students work independently and take responsibility for their work, but also to enhance the communication lines between teachers and parents and teachers and students. So currently, I just want to highlight that RenWeb and McGraw-Hill are essentially functioning like learning management systems. They're very similar to what learning management systems do. They're just not comprehensive. And they just don't have the ease of use or the user friendliness that we would like. And so we are exploring a couple others in depth. We have some webinars set up, some training set up with a team of people, including some teachers, some administrators, and others that would be using the tools so that we can review and really thoroughly go through what is going to best serve our student population. So we're hoping to roll that out in the fall. Like Mrs. Ruff said, regardless of where we are learning from, we hope to have that in place. We would have loved to have done it with this transition time. It would have been great if we had that tool in place already and could have our students accessing it, because it really is comprehensive and very valuable to the classrooms today. However, we made the decision together that that wasn't something that we were going to roll out at this time, because we haven't taught teachers about it. They have not been trained, so it'd be something that would be unfamiliar to them. Families are unfamiliar, students are unfamiliar, and so trying to balance the weight of wanting to move forward technologically, wanting to advance our classrooms in this way, knowing that this is going to be a great resource for us, but also trying to be mindful of our mental capacities, our mental states right now, and how much we can really handle. And what's going to best serve our students. And so we decided to hold off on the rollout until we can fully equip our teachers so that they can best support the families as they make that transition and are able to make and are able to access that and start to utilize that as well. And so we are really excited about it. We think that it's going to be a great addition to Perry Hall Christian School. We just want to make sure we get the right tool and we unroll at the right time with all of the right supports in place.
That sounds awesome. We appreciate you guys as parents looking into all of the ways that you can just continue to improve for our students. Mrs. Goodmanson, this question is for you. And I think it's kind of circles back to that, what if we have to keep doing this in the fall? So it says, will lower school specials be incorporated in learning if we're still operating with distance learning in the fall?
Absolutely. Our hope is to get every subject and every special on a schedule so that just like they would have the same kind of schedule at the school where they would have one special a day, they would still do the same in the fall. Hopefully we don't have to go there in the fall. I too am not looking forward to that, hoping that we are going to be back in school May 18th. And so that's our plan A, to go back to school. But our plan B is if we don't, yes, we are going to, again, we are all investigating, like Mrs. Gray said, that we were going to investigate the LMS systems, learning management systems for all of our kids, and want to get the right thing out there. We want to be good stewards of the money that God has given us when we purchase anything to use. And we also want to be good stewards of our time. So we want to be able to train our teachers properly, what the best way is to go forward. So I imagine that lower school specials will soon become a part of that LMS, should we have to go there in the fall.
Thank you. And Mrs. Kowalik, here's a question for you. What resources are currently or will be available if parents need additional assistance to support their child's remote learning?
Sure, great question. So we do have additional resources for families, and we've really been trying to brainstorm and make sure we cover the full gamut. We have some families that are reaching out saying things are overwhelming and the workload is causing stress and they're having trouble navigating that with their students, all the way to families who are saying that they would like some acceleration opportunities and some additional things. So we're trying to make sure we provide resources for everyone from one end of the spectrum to the other and everyone in between. So we do have resources. We have for lower school, there is a lot on McGraw-Hill. We really have just scratched the surface of all of the different resources that we can push out to students. Again, trying to keep in mind that right now, our brains can only handle so much. I mean, as much as we want to throw ourselves into, let this be the new normal, the reality is that it's going to take time. It's going to take us doing this for weeks and weeks before this starts to become routine for us. So we're being really purposeful and intentional about rolling things out in little bits at a time. And so wherever you happen to be, I'm sure we have something that we can help with in addition. So for students who might still be struggling, whether it's with specific academic content, whether it's with just planning and time management organization, we do have a list of homework helpers. So it's various staff members from our school that are, you know, willing and ready to basically take on students as partially mentors and partially, you know, academic coaches, so to speak, or tutors. So we do have that in place. We also have, you know, all of our teachers are ready and willing, staying after Zoom times, holding, you know, additional one-on-one or small group sessions with students if they're not grasping concepts. So we have those supports in place. We also, like I said, through McGraw-Hill and then also individually in the upper school in certain content areas, we definitely have remediation. So we have lots of things that students can go back and they can revisit skills and they can firm up on them. We have things that are computer-based. We have things that could be done more paper pencil, just uploaded to your computer. So we have a lot in that area. We also have, we're providing extension activities, mostly right now in lower school in the way of our specials. So our special teachers are taking a lot of time to make sure they find things like virtual field trips and, you know, kids going out and collecting things out in their environment to bring back and make our projects with. So we're really pushing out extension activities that way right now. As far as acceleration, if your child is, you know, happens to be getting through their work quickly, is looking for additional challenge, we also have things that we can provide in that area. Again, through McGraw-Hill, we have things. Our teachers have things that they have prepared through their course content. And then we have other learning systems that we are working with families to help them go through those and understand those. Some take subscriptions. They're very low cost, if anything. Most of them are free. We have tons and tons of free resources. You know, a few parents have contacted us and said, you know, I really, you know, it has been a financial hardship and we've had to upgrade this and that and the other. So we're trying to be really mindful and finding as many resources that are free. Luckily, most educational resources are opening up subscriptions for free. So we are going to be adding to probably Panther pages and posting them on our YouTube channel, as many media outlets as we have, different websites and resources that that your child might need at this time. Like I said, whether it's for acceleration, remediation, any and everything in between. The biggest thing is to please communicate with us. We are here. Our job is to help. And if you're not even sure, you know, you might have a student that's finished their work quickly and, you know, you're not sure what to do with them. We can definitely walk you through that. If you have students that are still struggling, we can 100% walk you through that as well. I think we've all touched on it at some point, but this is a really great time, stressful, but good opportunity to work with your children on developing their executive functions. And so that is an additional thing that we can push out to you resource-wise, because a lot of parents have been communicating that it's not maybe necessarily the content, but it's the initiation. They don't know how to get their students started with things, or you know, they're needing constant reminders, or their child just doesn't have a great sense of what their strengths and weaknesses are. So they're not sure, you know, how to tackle a project or something like that. So we do have other resources for parents as well, not just for students. So again, just please reach out to us. We're going to try and push out as much as we can through all of our media outlets. But again, you can contact any of us here that are on this panel. Always reach out to your students' teachers. And communication is key right now. Just really keeping those lines open, letting us know what it is that you need, and we will do our very best to try to provide you and your children with what they need to be successful.
Thank you. That is a lot of really helpful information for all of us, I think. So we have had two questions come in that really pertain to seniors. Mrs. Gray, I think I'm going to ask you to go ahead and answer those. One of them is about when will the seniors get their caps and gowns, and also what about the banners that the seniors have ordered?
Yep, so we've actually started to kind of figure out how to best do that, and we've come up with a lot of different ideas and fun ideas, but I'm not going to tell you too much about them. But we do hope to get the caps and gowns out starting early next week. We were thinking maybe as early as Friday, but we really want to make sure that they're organized and that we're able to get them out to you. But we definitely want to get them to you as soon as possible so that you can get those banners out and displayed and start to celebrate your senior. If we don't go back on May 18th and we do move forward with a virtual type combination graduation, we want to make sure that you have time to iron and press and steam that cap and gown so it looks perfect for the day of graduation. So we will be getting those out to you. I can't imagine later than next week. But so we will be pushing those out to you. Oh, that was it, right? Banners, caps and gowns?
Yes, banners, caps and gowns. And then the other question, there's a question about, is there a way to have some Zoom meetings that are more just a social gathering? And the question asked, I think, for the high school. I'm not sure if it was just specific to seniors or if it was for high schoolers, because there is so much intermingling throughout the day where students are allowed to eat lunch together, and we have peers and friendships that cross class lines. So the question was specifically about, is there any way to do something that's teacher supervised, just a social Zoom?
Yes. Yep. And I think the question was specific about seniors who I know are missing all this time together. And we're definitely sensitive to that. And we actually decided that we were going to be doing Zoom sessions on Wednesdays by grade level, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, so middle school and high school, as a time of social gathering, and that those would be monitored kind of by a rotation. The homeschool teacher, or I'm sorry, the homeroom teacher would kind of be the primary supervisor, but then we would have a rotation of other teachers to kind of help chaperone or pop in and say hi. I'm sure that they, miss their faces too on a more social level rather than just their Zoom classes. And so we will be starting that next Wednesday. I'm putting together a schedule. I want to make sure that, I talk to the teachers about their availability and don't want to overwhelm them and want to be sensitive to their caseload. So there might be some shifting of who's actually supervising, but we do want to have the kids have that opportunity to kind of share with one another on just a purely more social opportunity and just to chit chat about what's going on in their lives. I do want to commend the teachers. I know that some of the Zoom sessions that I've seen or heard, or even just in watching my own kids, that they often at the end of the Zoom or at the beginning of the Zoom give time for them to say hi to one another and ask questions. And so I love that. And I definitely am encouraging them to continue to do that. But we did think through and want to intentionally put in place some Zoom meetings where they can get together and socialize with one another on a grade level basis.
Thank you. Mrs. Goodmanton, I have a question about kindergarten graduation. Will it be just a one-on-one time with you ladies, as you spoke about, or will there actually be a ceremony of some sort?
Right now, it's going to be a one-on-one time. We haven't worked out all of the details yet, but that's what we're working on actually tomorrow. So right now, as far as the kids seeing each other, we are not going to have time where they're going to be together seeing each other. It won't be in the sanctuary. It will be just kind of an outside and picture outside of the school. But we will keep you informed and keep you posted. And certainly if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to listen to your suggestions or listen to your thoughts regarding this. And we are, again, looking to find the best way possible to complete our program and keep the integrity of our program, and also follow the directives of our governor. And so we want to make sure, again, that we give you the best that we can and do it all within the parameters that are given to us.
Thank you. It's a special time for parents with their littles. So ladies, those are all the questions that we have had for tonight, either come through, pardon me, prior or during this meeting. Mrs. Ruff, could you close us out for this evening, please?
Yes, I'd love to do that. Thank you. I just wanted to read the scripture in Colossians chapter 1. And it says, "We always thank God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, when we pray for you, since we heard of your faith in Christ Jesus and of the love that you have for all the saints. And so from the day we heard, we have not ceased to pray for you, asking that you may be filled with the knowledge of his will in all spiritual wisdom and understanding, so as to walk in a manner worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing to him, bearing fruit in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of God, being strengthened with all power according to his glorious might, for all endurance and patience with joy, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of the saints in light. I just want to say, on behalf of all of the administrative staff and all of the faculty and staff, thank you. Thank you so much for supporting our school. Thank you for being a cheerleader for our school. Thank you for partnering with us in ways that for some of you is just completely out of your comfort zone, in helping to educate your children in this way. I do understand and appreciate that, and so thank you. But most importantly, thank you for showing the love of Christ to everyone, to our teachers, to us, to people that you interact with on social media, to your children, just in the way that you continue to offer praise and support to us, and the way that you just continue to worship him and trust in him through this situation. It is truly a blessing for me to be your head of school. And so thank you on behalf of all of us. We miss you so much, and we can't wait until we can be together again face to face. Thank you. Take care, guys.